Delighted to welcome Rohit Thakral to the You and Your Business studio. Hi, Rohit.
Thank you, Alec.
My goodness me, there's a lot there to cover. So let's start with school, as I said, and your sort of formative years in school weren't spent in Ireland, I think you were telling me at the beginning.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I most of my schooling was in India. I studied over there, and then moved to Ireland in 2003 to further educate myself, to learn more further. My schooling in India I did my diploma in electronics engineering, and from there, yeah, I decided that, okay, I need to have a degree, and why not Ireland? Because Ireland was promoting the education sector quite heavily in India at that time. So I took the jump, spoke to a couple of lecturers in TU Dublin, as it is called now. It used to be DIT, Dublin Institute of Technology before. So I was given an extension into delivering this or covering this course, which generally is a 4 years honors degree in 2 years.
Wow.
So I had an extension, and that was enough of a reason to come to Ireland, pursue my degree. And my promise to my mom was, look, I'll do my degree in 2 years. 2 years of experience, and I'll be back to India pretty soon. So she was like, yeah, it's now 18 years. When are you coming back?
So you didn't keep all of the promises up there. But let's put it this way. You come from an entrepreneurial background, so you had always a hankering to be involved in business yourself.
Call it an entrepreneurial or a kind of, middle-class family struggle, Alec. It's it was a family of 5, then very quickly a family of 4. My mom was a single parent. And then she started a couple of businesses to keep the family running, all of those kind of small mama and papa shops type of things.
Sure.
So the last one she was running was a cosmetic store, selling cosmetics and all the kind of makeup stuff to women when I left India. So that entrepreneurial thing was there. I always say that my first business was when I was in my, I think, 8th year of school.
Right.
Whatever that is. I think it's the junior school here or the senior school here, 2nd year or 3rd year. And it was a comic rental business.
Very good. Comic rental.
Comic rental, because comics used to be very expensive back then. Think of these were Hindi comics, but they were expensive. So kids used to rent them and give them back. But it didn't last as much as I wanted it to, probably just one summer. And I read most of the books. Some of my friends took it, never gave it back. So that died pretty quickly.
Yeah, but you learn a lesson from it as well. And it teaches you all sorts about dealing with people and stock and all of the sort of things. But you got your degree here. You went to work for a couple of organizations. Tell us about the experience of that and how you found it.
Yeah, I worked for a company called Data Edge in Brave. Very interesting experience. They hired me straight out of college, and I still remember, because it was your first job. It was my first job in the country in a full-time role. After the interview, I sat on the beach and I was hoping, damn, I should get this job, because their office was right off the beach, and you could see seashore from their office. So that was one of the biggest reason of hoping that I get the job. But yes, I did get it. I worked for them. Through them, I worked for some of the bigger brand names in the country, Vodafone and Meteor back then, BT, because I was a telecoms test equipment engineer. So I was going to all of these telecom masts, all these mobile masts, and testing them, whether they were transmitting properly, were their calls being dropped. Interesting job. That gave me quite a lot of kind of run around of the country as well, traveled in far-flung places. These telephone masts are installed in, for an example, for Dublin, we have one sitting in Three Rock. And if you look at some of the Wexford ones and Waterford ones, they are in the middle of nowhere. So you get to know the country very well. So it was a very interesting job in general. From there, I went on to work for UPC, as they were UPC back then and now Virgin Media. But that was another interesting role, because I was the product manager. But working for a bigger corporation, you realize that, okay, you can't make some of the decisions yourself. You have to
No.
learn and grow, and then you want to do something and you go, okay, well, it's a bigger organization. You have to take 10 approvals before
Sure.
something is implemented. And that gave me the drive that, okay, it's time now that I should go and start something of my own. And that's when I took the jump and I started the business. That's like what, 13 years. Target integration is 13 years this year. So yeah, it feels like only yesterday that I left the job.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we were talking about UPC, and obviously you weren't sitting in the driving seat of it here. So, I mean, you were hankering to have your own business, and you decided to do that. So tell me about that.
Yeah, that's where I went, okay, well, let's take the jump, start something of your own, because there were a few things. Of course, I was 28 back then. Right. And from a kind of Indian child, the eldest child perspective, it was my time to get married. So like, if I don't start the business, my mom will get me married, which means that I won't have the same kind of risk-taking capabilities. Right. So yeah, better to do it now rather than wait for, later. So I took that jump, took that decision, started the business, and our initial few clients came from some friends. Then, a little bit of marketing worked, and we picked up our first client in Derry. Out of all the places, yeah, and started working for them as well. We started with cloud-based CRM applications.
Yeah, tell us a bit about CRM, because again, we'll come back into your career, but I'd like you maybe to share some of your knowledge with our audience here in relation to some of this technology, which they mightn't be familiar with. Talk about definitely. CRM. Yeah,
definitely. So CRM, as it is called, Customer Relationship Manager, and I was speaking to my HR lady just before jumping onto this show, and I was telling her that, look, CRM in her case immediately becomes a candidate relationship manager.
Right.
When you're in recruitment world. So that's C, and as quite a lot of companies have started putting X in front of it, going, it's an XRM. And X is ultimately anybody, your customer, your supplier, your candidates, your people that you're working with, a relationship management software for them. And we were selling this CRM back then for in cloud. And back then, cloud, yeah, nobody wanted to know cloud. Why cloud? I want to have something in the office.
Yeah.
Then recessionary days as well. So it was a kind of challenging time. We grew out of that from kind of, learning and everything perspective. I would say for most of us business owners, CRM sits in our heads.
Yes.
Most of the business owners, you go to your sales managers and likes of those. We are working with an interesting company in Cork at the moment. And the sales manager over there does everything what a CRM does naturally.
Right.
He goes in and reminds his clients. He goes in and pings in every 3 months to see how they are doing. That's his account management. Whether they are interested in sports or they are interested in a particular, food or anything like that, he knows them by heart. He knows them by heart, and he's able to talk about it. But think of a growing bigger organization. You can't do it.
No, of course not.
So you have to have some sort of tool where you can store this data, store this information. I know sometimes it's a little bit challenging if you just start throwing all the personal information about people and then GDPR kicks in and you go, what happened here? But no, some information stored about your customers is always useful so that you can use it later on to create that relationship with them. You can create.
Yeah, sorry, Rohit. I was just thinking, as you said, from the time you started to where we are now, and GDPR would have come in the meantime, what were the major changes that have happened there that have proved challenging to business owners?
To be honest, from a B2B perspective, the changes have not impacted businesses as much. If you're a business owner, GDPR does not affect you as much. Right. Yes, you still have to be. And I think from a kind of data security perspective, the challenges back then and challenges today are the same. You have to store the data carefully. You have to keep the data very carefully. I mean, GDPR is one thing. One of the client mentioned to us that there wasn't security implemented on his environment where before we took on their account, all
Yeah.
of their contacts were deleted by one of their employees.
And I mean, this has been a change also, because again, in the day you were talking about clients wanting things on their own home server as opposed to in the cloud. Can we just talk about the comparisons and what's relevant for which sort of size organization?
Yeah, to be honest, in today's day and age, irrespective of the size of the organization, cloud is the de facto standard. I don't think anybody is looking for on-premise solutions. Now, we do get requests every now and then where people go, no, we don't have good broadband connection.
Right.
Even with the most systems, you need a very small internet connection to be able to use them. There are some non-cloud systems available as well, and people do use them. But cloud is de facto standard. Why? Because it's easier to spin it up.
Right.
Back in the old days, if you wanted to have a server, if you wanted to have, and even today as well, you want to have you're a small organization, 5 people, 10 people, you want to have a CRM system. If you want to put it on your own server, you will be looking at a server worth, I don't know, 800-900 euros.
Wow. Wow.
So, put all the spend on the top of it and you realize it's a very expensive project, while you can start with a 10, 15, 20 euro per month package per user, and you go live pretty quickly. So I think cloud has become the de facto standard. Some of the organizations, financial, we work with some of the credit unions and likes of those. And in those cases, yes, the data is even more sensitive. Plus, at the same time, if they don't have the internet bandwidth, there are requests of on-premise software as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting the way the whole world in terms of software has sort of migrated, not just to the cloud, but its ease of access and use for people. I mean, software as a service is a fantastic concept. Again, tell our audience a bit about this, which they may not know about.
Well, I mean, software as a service, effectively what it means is you're getting a very well-matured software. You're getting an application which is fully mature, and you don't have to pay for it if you are putting it on your own server. You are paying for the use of it, which means that you start using it effectively as electricity. I get the electricity, rent a car, you take the car with the fuel, and you're renting it to use it. And you return it back at the end of the day. You don't have to worry about the tax. You don't have to worry about, the maintenance and everything else. That's where software has gone to.
And it allows you to upscale quickly or to pull back depending on how you need it. It's a turn on, turn off tap.
So starting the business in recession effectively, yes, gave us a feeling of, there was a client where we were helping them take all of their servers out of their business premises and putting it to her home. She's still a good friend. And we keep talking about those days because she's back in business, she's flourishing again and all that.
Yeah.
But back then, all of these expensive servers were taken out of her office and put into home because she did not need them anymore. And it was a waste of resource completely. Things like those, scaling up, scaling down, is very easy in cloud because you don't have to spend money on infrastructure.
Right.
And, if you need another user, increase another user. If you don't need that user, just reduce it down and you don't pay that bill.
And a lot of people would have concerns around security with the cloud as opposed to servers. Again, tell us a bit about that.
If Microsoft and Google can't keep it secure enough, I don't think your IT and my IT will be able to do it. That's the phrase I use on a regular basis with my customers. Because at this stage, Microsoft, Google, all the CRM companies, they are so secure. Now, yes, every now and then you hear the outage as well. But if that outage would have happened to your business, there are more chances of our internet going down compared to the internet of Google and Microsoft going down. There are more chances of the application going down with us because we have to restart the server, the power outage, there is a flood here and all those type of things. So security-wise, they're quite secure. From an availability-wise, they're quite high available applications. You can't lose them easily. They don't drop easily. Security, yes, also they are all kind of signed up to the GDPR of European Union. They are signed up to all the CAN-SPAM acts and everything in the US as well. So they have ticked all the boxes. and they are there to support you. Now, GDPR is a different concept, and I must say, even if you're going for a cloud-based CRM system, the onus of GDPR is on you. That they will make sure that the data doesn't go anywhere. But then at the same time, don't forget the example I gave earlier. An employee could misuse the data as well. So you'll have to make sure that data is sitting there secure. You have access rights in place to make sure that nobody else can access the data if they don't have the need for it. GDPR for B2B, business to business, is quite flexible, but business to consumer has gone quite strict. Even then as well, we see how many of our, Tesco club card points and things like those are available to us, and they are able to track us online as well as shopping in store, Marks and Spencers, and so those. Data is power if used correctly. And yes, if it is in a secure environment, I think we can get some good data or good results out of it as well.
Just kind of going back to your business for a minute, you were telling me about an interesting discussion you had with your brother about, which kind of made you think slightly differently. Tell us about that.
And that's, I think, from a Irish business perspective, we always look at some of the countries as, okay, whether we will be able to grow in that, whether there is enough business there or not. And when you grow in, a country like Ireland, you have a little different view of other places. One of the view I had back in 2011, 2012, starting the business in India, was that why would we sell in India? Because it's a low cost economy.
Right.
The buying power of businesses or users is not strong enough. So should we go there and sell? Because my view was, I need a backend, I need a support center over there. And my brother was like, I'm not a techie. What I can do is I can start the business here and I can sell services over here, and at the same time have a team for you who can support you in the background. So I said, look, I will support you. I will let you do whatever you want. Yes, I need my team. And you do whatever you want to do. But that investment, worked very well. I learned something from my brother that they're going, yes, or actually over the period of years, because he was selling CRM solutions, software as a service, to probably twice, thrice the number of users as I was here. But at 1/3 of a price. An economy of scale kicked in, and he had higher profits compared to my profits. Because all of a sudden, when you're selling it to 200 users compared to 20 users over here, even if you were selling at 10 euro per user rather than 30 euros per user, you still had 2,000 euros in hand at the end of the month compared to us. So that kind of, and the support requirement was still very similar anyway. So it worked out very well in our favor, and that's what took us out of recession. So I would definitely say, from other businesses perspective, if you're looking at any of the Eastern Asian countries for investment for businesses, that's what we promote on IIBA, Ireland India Business Association as well. Definitely consider them, keep your mind open around other markets as well.
So tell me more just about the technology that you're working with. Obviously things have moved on and keep moving at a pace. Tell me some more about what you're doing for people, because I know some people often want to build their own systems, yet there's often things out there that they could buy that's off the shelf that would be even better.
Yeah. Look at this from the perspective of why rebuild a wheel if it is there? If today you have to build if you look at Tesla and likes of those, all of these new car companies, they are not building the wheel. What they are doing is buying a wheel, putting their stamp on it, a little bit redesign here and there, buy the tires, put them on and use them. That's where the world is today. There are a number of off-the-shelf packages, software available. So we are partners with a number of nice brands in terms of SAP, Microsoft, Google, Zoho, Odoo, some of the kind of, other CRM and ERP systems out there. We work with them, we customize those solutions, but without using code. So we don't change the underlying functionality of the software. We implement the software for the customer.
Tell me more about that and explain just what an ERP is, and then maybe let's come back to saying, as you said, you don't rewrite the code, but how you what can I call it, manipulating the software
Yeah.
to suit their purpose.
Yeah. So every software nowadays gives you functionality to customize it to the customer's needs. So for an example, if I am implementing this for my client who's in retail business, food retail business, I will be putting in things like shelf life. I will be putting in things like batch numbers, expiry dates, and things like those. But if the same system is being implemented for another customer who's in fashion, I'll be putting in shirt sizes,
Right.
large, medium, small. I'll be putting in colors. So same shirt available in 5 different colors. I won't be worried about shelf life as much. So systems nowadays, modern systems allow you to customize them by just using functional customization, as we call it. So not using code, but clicking buttons here and there.
Right.
It's a good way of implementing. And you said ERP, yes, enterprise resource planning, as it is called. And what's a resource? Resource is everything: your raw material, your finished goods, your employees. So resource planning software generally touches almost every backend system that you have in the organization and can replace them.
I mean, one of the challenges most people have out there is, gosh, there seems to be new stuff coming out nearly every day. How do you keep track of what's coming out and what's the best to be using?
The keeping up generally is, yes, a challenge, but once you get into a system, you're sticking to that system and taking the updates. And one advantage of functionally customizing your software is that you don't need to upgrade it or go through a very difficult upgrade process.
Right.
Upgrade is easy. That means you keep updating the software and you keep getting the advantage of the new technology which is coming out. So for an example, SAP and like so they come up with new version and new improvements on a regular basis. You go to your software vendor, software partner, and ask them, look, is that feature available now? And if it is, yes, you implement it. Then, of course, the other option is getting some third-party plugins which can be installed to improve the functionality as well. And the last resort is, of course, writing your own code and keep it up to date. How do you keep updated? Yeah, from our perspective, our team members go through quite a lot of self-learning on what is new coming out in the market. We do quite a lot of our own research as well in terms of what functionalities are available. And learn about the software, learn about the technology, learn about what do businesses need in the next future. Like AI is becoming very popular. How will that affect the market? How will that affect buyers' behavior? That means how will that affect my supply chain? And the software will have to adapt to that as well. So we keep an eye on all of these and keep ourselves abreast of every new option available. From customers' perspective, we take that headache away from them. They don't have to worry about it. They can rely on us, rely on their business partners to deliver this for them.
Let's talk about somebody who has set up their own business, is not very familiar with the whole area of technology. Where is the starting point for them? How do they engage with somebody in the space that you're in to get the best from them?
See, engaging is pretty easy. You're actually having a conversation with a system integrator to say, okay, I want to achieve this. A very interesting new business I spoke to last Friday, and they actually signed up today as a customer as well, that quick of a turnaround. They are a startup. The gentleman has come up with the idea of, delivering groceries in a newer way in Dublin city center. And you'll be seeing them pretty soon as they launch. But when you look at it, all he did was picked up the phone, called us, asked us, look, could this be done? And we said, look, these are the options. This is how you can do it. We went on to a conference call. I explained to the rest of his team. They got impressed, and we were toing and froing over the weekend over emails. And then this morning he went, yeah, let's go ahead. Sometimes the engagement cycle doesn't have to be that long. You want to achieve something. You want to have people working from home. They need to have X, Y, and Z information when they are working from home. You want them to be able to place an order, and you want them to be able to look after a customer in a particular way, shape, and form. That's all we need to know. Once we know this, we can actually take you forward. Sorry.
No, you're fine, Rohit. In terms of people getting started, I know how long is a piece of string, but people must have some sort of budgetary sense about how they're going to get involved?
As somebody who's starting up new can actually jump onto the kind of software in as low as 15 euros. And sometimes there are free versions available as well. So you can go for a free trial version or free version for life. And then when you grow bigger, you can jump onto a paid version. So software comes for free quite a number of times. If a business is ready to invest their own time, if a business owner is ready to invest their own time, they can do most of this stuff themselves as well, and they don't need us.
Fantastic.
And then the time comes when they, sorry, just to kind of complete that part. If they ever get stuck, they can come to us and we just charge on an hourly rate basis. We don't even ask that you should buy 20 hours to 200 hours. Buy on an hourly rate basis. And once you buy those hours, you consume them with us.
Okay. And if people want to find out more about you, Rohit, and the company, Target Integration, give us the details where to find you.
Sure. So as normal, www.targetintegration.com.